She made my life unlivable for 4 years. I waited. Then I took everything she was building. I want to be honest about the timeline because the patience required is the part people find hardest to believe. 4 years. I waited 4 years. Mirabelle entered my life on the first day of a hospitality management program at a competitive college in the Northeast. She was polished in the specific way of people who have practiced being polished: correct clothes, correct laugh, an instinct for identifying whoever held social authority in a room, and positioning herself adjacent to them within the first 20 minutes. She identified me on that same first day as someone useful to undermine. I still do not know exactly why. I was quiet and scholarship funded, and perhaps that combination read to her as safe to target. What followed was not loud bullying. Mirabelle was far too intelligent for anything that could be documented easily. It was a campaign of quiet erosion. Rumors released with just enough plausible deniability to survive scrutiny. Opportunities mentioned to everyone except me. A consistent low-level narrative distributed through the social architecture of our program that positioned me as difficult, unreliable, not quite worth the effort of knowing. She did it with such consistency and such apparent warmth toward everyone else that I spent the first year doubting my own perception of it. By year 2, I had stopped doubting. I had started documenting. I kept a note on my phone. Dates, incidents, witnesses, exact phrasing where I could recall it. I did not confront her. I did not tell anyone what I was doing. I simply continued performing well academically, continued being present and professional, and continued adding to the note with the patience of someone who had decided that the long view was the only view worth taking. Our program had a capstone placement in the final year, a competitive internship with a hotel group that recruited directly from our cohort. 2 positions. The placement carried significant weight, led reliably to graduate offers, and was the single most discussed professional opportunity in our program. Mirabelle had been positioning herself for it since orientation week. She had cultivated the faculty relationships, attended every relevant event, made herself visible in every room where visibility counted. It was, I will admit, an impressive and sustained effort. I had been doing the same thing, more quietly, for the same duration. We both applied. We both interviewed. We both waited. The placement coordinator was a woman named Director Ashby who had been recruiting from the program for 11 consecutive years and who had, I later learned, a particular sensitivity to the difference between people who perform competence and people who actually possess it. She had also, over those 11 years, developed relationships with faculty who were willing to be candid in ways that formal recommendations sometimes were not. I found out I had received one of the positions on a Thursday morning via email. I read it twice, set my phone down, and went for a long walk before responding. Mirabelle did not receive the second position. It went to a quieter student named Theo, who had spent 4 years keeping his head down and his work excellent, which in retrospect I found both just and deeply satisfying. What I had not anticipated was the conversation that followed with Director Ashby during my placement onboarding. She mentioned, with the measured candor of someone who had decided I deserved to know, that the faculty consultations had raised consistent concerns about one other applicant's interpersonal conduct across the cohort. She did not name Mirabelle. She did not need to. She said the concerns had been specific and had come from multiple independent sources and had been the determining factor in a close decision. I nodded and thanked her and moved on to discussing the placement itself. The note on my phone, 4 years of dates and incidents and exact phrasing, I deleted the week after placement began. Not because it no longer mattered, but because I no longer needed it. It had served its purpose simply by existing, by keeping me anchored to the truth of my own experience during years when Mirabelle's version of events had been louder than mine. I completed the placement, I received a graduate offer. I accepted it and relocated and have now been with the hotel group for 3 years, in a role that has expanded twice since I arrived. Mirabelle, I heard, through the cohort network, struggled to secure equivalent placement and took a position several tiers below what she had anticipated. I do not know the current details and I have not sought them out. I think about those 4 years occasionally, not with bitterness, but with a kind of retrospective clarity about what they required of me and what they produce. Patience is not passivity. It is a strategy that asks a great deal and pays out slowly and demands that you trust, without guarantee, that quality eventually becomes visible. It does. In my experience, it does. It simply takes as long as it takes.